Major global powers like Canada, UK, and France have announced plans to recognize an independent state of Palestine. Hello and welcome to Drishti IAS. My name is Saloni Nankyolier, and today we will analyze whether this move is only symbolic or can it actually change something on ground. So in July 2025, countries like Canada, UK, and France said that they have plans of providing a formal recognition to Palestine in the upcoming United Nations General Assembly of September. Now, why do they want to do so? Because countries all over the world are concerned with the growing humanitarian crisis in Gaza. We see the growing public discontent, we see people suffer, and the viability of a two-state solution, that is the vision of having two separate nations, two independent nations of Israel and Palestine, day by day that vision is becoming less and less believable. So countries all over the world, they want to come together and they want to establish peace in the region. Because right now also, if you see, there's a lot of instability in the Middle East. We have Iran-Israel conflict, and Gaza for the longest time has been facing a humanitarian crisis. That is why these major superpowers, they want to come together and they want to establish peace in the region. So what have they said? Certain statements have been made by these countries, like Canada has said that the recognition will be conditional. And the condition is that the Palestinian Authority must institute democratic reforms. That is, it must hold elections in 2026 and Hamas should not be a part of it. The state should be disarmed, hostages should be released, and Hamas must not be a part of the democratic setup. Versus, France has announced an unconditional recognition to support peace and demilitarization of Hamas. And the United Kingdom is doing something different. It is playing a pressure tactic. It is playing a pressure tactic on Israel by saying that it will provide formal recognition to Palestine unless Israel agrees to stop its military action and it agrees to enter a ceasefire. So this is what is happening on the global scale. Now, let us briefly understand the Israel-Palestine conflict. So these are basically two sets of people, Arabs and Jews, who believe the same land to be their homeland. So historically, this complete area was 100% historic Palestine and the predominant population here were Arabs. Now after the First World War, when British took over the Ottoman Empire, Jews from all over the world were promised that they will be brought back to their believed homeland, that was Palestine. So Jews from everywhere started coming back to Palestine, a lot of migration happened, and naturally conflict started increasing between Jews and Arabs. Especially during the time of Hitler, when a lot of Jews were being executed, the migration was at its peak and the conflict also between Arabs and Jews grew a lot. So this is what was happening. And then in 1945, when the United Nations was formed, in 1947, it came up with a partition plan or the two-state solution, where it said that we should have two independent nations, one Israel, one Palestine, and they should be dominated by their own populations. Israel would be Jews dominated and Palestine would be Arab dominated. So this entire green part would be Palestine and the white part could be Israel. This is what the United Nations partition plan mentioned. But after that, there has been a lot of conflict in the region because Jews accepted it, but Arabs did not. So in 1948, Israel declared its independence. Ever since then, there has been a lot of violent conflict in the region, like the 1967 Six-Day War. Then we also saw October 7, 2023 Hamas attack. So all these violent conflicts have been there and there has been a lot of instability in the region till date. That is why these countries, they want to come in together and provide a formal recognition to the state of Palestine in a hope that this is going to solve the conflict and it is going to bring in peace in the society. But what has been Israel's response? Naturally, it has not been good because Israel is not in the favor of giving recognition to Palestine. In fact, it believes that this is going to reward Hamas and bring in more disturbance and more instability in the region. So this is what Israel believes. But a question here is Palestine even eligible for statehood? So the criteria for statehood has been mentioned in the Montevideo Convention. So there are 4 parameters. First is that there should be a population in that entire area. Second, there should be defined borders or defined territory. Third, there should be an effective form of government. And fourth, there should be sovereignty or these people this country basically should be able to deal with international affairs with other countries on its own. So all these are the criteria for any country to be given its statehood. And legal experts, they believe that Palestine fits on all these criteria. However, there are some complications, but it can still be provided a statehood as per the legal experts. Now, if we look at the international recognition scenario, the current recognition scenario of Palestine, so in November 2012, UNGA Resolution 67/19, it granted Palestine the status of non-member observer state. So this is a non-member observer state in the United Nations, and so far 147 out of the 193 UN member countries, they recognize Palestine as an official state. So this is the current recognition status of Palestine. And the wave of recognition has been growing ever since 2004, with many countries of Europe basically coming forward and saying that they want to grant formal recognition to the state of Palestine. And what could be the impact of this recognition? So basically, the impact is going to be symbolic and also a little bit legal in terms. Well, but not a lot of things are going to change on ground immediately because the borders are not going to be redrawn. We first need to define borders. Only then we'll be able to understand if Palestine will be given a defined territory or not. Until and unless the borders are defined, we cannot be clear, we cannot be sure of how the two countries are going to act in the global geopolitics. So if we see, the recognition by these G7 nations will not redraw borders, nor will it end occupation. But what is it going to do? It is going to strengthen Palestinian claims on all the international platforms like the United Nations or the International Court of Justice or the International Criminal Court, allowing participation in the international fora. And the diplomatic upgrades will also happen because once this is given a formal recognition in the United Nations also, it will start having embassies and consulates on a very large scale. So diplomatically things are going to happen, symbolically things are going to happen, on an international level recognition is going to be provided, but geographically the borders are not going to be redrawn, and that will still remain a challenge for Palestine. So the way forward for this, as per experts, has been the two-state solution. The two-state solution where both the states like Israel and Palestine, they exist with proper borders, with defined borders, and they exist independently so that peace can be established in the region, which right now is not the case. But as per experts, this two-state solution is going to be the most viable option. So that was all for today's video. I hope you were able to understand what we discussed. Now let us practice a question for prelims. Which of the following statements is not true about the recent developments in recognition of the state of Palestine? A. Canada, France and the UK plan formal recognition during the United Nations General Assembly in September 2025. B. Canada's recognition is conditional on Palestinian governance reforms, including elections excluding Hamas. C. Recognition by these countries grants full UN membership immediately. D. The majority of UN member states, over 140, already recognize Palestine as of early 2025. Choose the correct option. Please provide your answers in the comment section and we will meet in the next video.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.